Are you tired of fighting the same old dragons over and over again? Wouldn't you rather fight a new family of dragons? Or better yet, wouldn't you rather play as a new dragon species in your 5e or Pathfinder game? Well, now you can. Roll for Combat, the creators of the incredibly popular Battlezoo Ancestries dragons, have done it again with Battlezoo Secret Dragons. This collection of 4 dragon books introduces new families of dragons to the world of 5e and Pathfinder. Now you can play as, or fight, the dragon you never knew you needed. Inside each book, players will find complete rules for playing as one of these new unique dragons, allowing them to unleash new abilities and powers never seen before. Meanwhile, GMs will find pages of monster stats, allowing you to pit these new creatures against your players. Each book features one new family of dragons filled with extensive, in-depth descriptions of their powers and abilities, background and history information, world lore, illustrations, and more to help you introduce these new dragons into your 5e or Pathfinder games. Experience the world of Battlezoo Secret Dragons through 4 new books. Fairy dragons are connected with the Fey realm and love to play pranks and cause mischief. That is, when they aren't conspiring with the courts of the Fae. Misfit dragons are hot, magical messes of magical energy, constantly shifting their physical forms, phasing in and out of existence, or simply releasing random wild magic effects. They're quite a handful. Leshy dragons are deeply connected to nature, allowing them to grow alongside different types of plants, fungi, and leshies. Oh yeah, and they're master chefs as well. And finally, the powerful battle dragons are obsessed with the thrill of combat. Battle dragons love hunting foes, dueling opponents, or commanding their legions to glorious victory. Head over to kickstarter.rollforcombat.com now to secure your copies of Battlezoo Secret Dragons and become the dragon you were always meant to be.
Hold on. Test. There we go. Let me fix that one. That's weird.
Is it working now?
Hold on. Okay, now it should. You guys talk.
Hey, hello everybody.
Oh, right.
Now you can finally hear us.
Wow. This is really funny because last night Paizo's War of the Immortal stream had sound issues. Then
I know why. Because OBS just
Linda
updated.
and I had slight sound issues in our stream for building a deity, so we made a deity of sound issues that interrupt streams. Well, and so curse you.
It's OBS.
Whatever the name of that
all that
is.
happened is OBS updated, and whenever OBS updates every so often, it'll blow out your settings, and that is exactly what happened. So,
which is why I never update OBS.
Well, before that, we were talking. Oh man, you missed it. We were talking all about how Derik had to destroy his studio. He had to strike the set, and I was on the video watching, and it was sad.
You did comment that it was a very tragic moment. But yeah, we've had a studio for the past 4 years, the whole time we've done the channel. But you know, we have new owners, and they wanted to raise our rent a bunch, and it just wasn't worth it, and they were being a pain in the butts about it. So yes, my channel is currently homeless. But yeah.
You're fine.
I'm fine. But you know, we're gonna go into exile, and we're gonna keep doing our stuff. So it'll be fine. It'll be all good.
So everyone knows who we are. Everyone knows who Derik is. Let's get right into it.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. Yeah.
Cynthia Williams, president of Wizard of the Coast.
WotC.
Yes, she's the president of WotC and Hasbro
Chris Cox
Gaming.
is the president of Hasbro.
He's the CEO and anyhow.
Right.
So she is leaving next Friday. What are you going to say?
Very quick. And I was going to say, and to be clear, so Chris Cox, CEO of Hasbro, used to be the president of Wizards of the Coast, and then they promoted him, and they brought in Cynthia Williams less than 2 years ago.
Correct.
From Microsoft.
Less than 2 years ago from Microsoft.
To run it. So basically, so under her helm, if you will, right, you had sort of the drive up, I guess, to D&D 1 and the playtest and the OGL stuff and all that other stuff. So it's. And then you had the movie, which I'm sure she didn't really have too much to do with.
I doubt it.
No, that was done years ago.
And probably this whole new recent, sort of maybe digital offering. And obviously we've discussed before the Larian stuff would have been dealt with a long time before. So the question
they would have had to start the new plan too, probably before she was there, I imagine, but maybe not by a lot.
So the one question I have, because you obviously have read a lot more than this than me, Stephen, because I was working. So
was I.
Well, yes, but this is
you're the one who
even
told me. You're like, Derik writes to me, he goes, "Oh, you might not want me on today because some news broke."
Right. Well, we were going to talk about Critical Role, and then I saw the article linked, and I was like, "Oh, does Stephen know about this?" This seems like
I actually didn't know because I was busy. I was very busy this morning, heads down, and then I looked at it, and then I was like, "Oh!" And then I had a big meeting at noon, and I'm like quickly typing and figuring this out.
I had seen it, and Rascal, who broke it first before the other ones, and I had seen it ahead of time. I was like, "Oh, that'll be a good mini topic for the beginning of the episode." But I didn't mention it to Stephen because I was sure he had already seen it.
Yeah,
but and I'm sure we'll get into some of the specifics about did she quit or did she resign? Was she fired? Was she asked to leave? Whatever. But I really want to get to one thing, which is this is me being very cynical.
Yes.
Why the hell should I care? Right? Like what?
Oh God, yeah, you should care.
What? But why?
Well, if we had Baron on, I would actually explain that. But because a few things. First of all,
it's like, am I going to get a better flame tongue longsword in my campaign because Cynthia Williams is out?
Yes.
Is my dwarf? Am I going to finally get that buff?
Yep.
To the Ranger class because Cynthia Williams is out?
Yes. Let's get to it. Let's get to it.
Why are you saying yes to that, Stephen? If she should be unrelated to those.
No, it's all completely related. No, it's completely related. I'll tell you why. I'll explain. So, a few things. First, do like and subscribe. I think there's like 5 likes. How is there only 5 likes? Come on, people. Don't you have thumbs?
We have barely said anything so far, Steve.
Don't you have thumbs? Come on. And if you have questions, feel free to ask them. Super chats will answer immediately. We will stop what we're doing and answer them. Unless we don't. But we probably will. No, we'll answer them. Okay, so a company is the essence, if you will, of the personality of a company really comes down to about 5 people, and that's about it. So Baron has the exact numbers. I think it's like 5 to 7. 5 to 7 people of an organization that has thousands, if not tens of thousands of people, can actually take on a personality based on just a very, very small number of people. She was one of those people. I guarantee it. And you can change the entire mojo of a company by replacing someone at her level. And to be honest, for us, because she was in charge of WotC, will it affect Transformers or Peppa Pig? No, probably not. Is it going to affect Monopoly Go? Probably, because she, I think, was part of that. Is it going to affect, D&D and Magic the Gathering? Hell yeah. It's going to affect it big time. Massive. It's going to. This is, whoever they hire will be the steward of that brand.
Well, so let's look at that then, okay? Because they brought in what, to all outside appearances, felt like was a non-gamer. I mean, who knows? Maybe
she's a
maybe she played a game of D&D in her, but she's not a gamer. So they brought her in, and either she wasn't happy with the direction of the company, or they weren't happy with the direction.
No, I know what's going to happen.
Which means that they're either going to double down and say she wasn't implementing it enough.
Mm-hmm.
That seems much more likely to me than them saying, you know what? We need to bring a real OG gamer in here. We need to turn this ship around. We need to be a company of gamers for gamers by gamers.
I got one better.
That seems very unlikely to me.
I got one even better. Why can't you do both? And I am being dead serious. I know people are joking, but I am.
I know where you're going with this.
I am throwing my hat into the ring, and I seriously want that job. I know it sounds insane, but when you go through my resume, I could do this job in my. I've been thinking about this for years. It's
now, Steven, does that mean that flame tongue you just said yes to Derik is a campaign promise?
Yes, it's a campaign promise. Everyone will get a flame tongue. If
a brand new flame tongue in every castle.
A flame tongue in every castle.
100 gold pieces.
Are they called castles now, or wasn't there a specific term for them in the new strongholds? That's what I thought. In every stronghold, Derik used the right terminology from the new D&D 2024.
Yeah. Right.
No, I'm actually. We'll get into it. I'm dead serious. I'm really actually going to be looking to. I have 1 million contacts there. I know they're looking for someone inside and outside. I'm actually dead serious because I've worked with Fortune 500 companies my whole life. I know how to work with boards. I know how to work with presidents. I've been doing this for 31 years. I've merged companies, sold companies. My day job is making Fortune 500 websites. And when you and I started this in the 90s. So back then, and I was based in Manhattan, when I was working on a website, I'd almost always be working with the president of the company. I'm talking about like the president of Citibank. Okay, we're talking about like not like mom and pop, like Joe's corner store. Like I was working with literally the presidents and the board of directors because back then this was their first website, so they wanted their stamp on it, and they wanted to see it and put their 2 cents on it because this was like it was new, it was exciting. I worked with them all the time. It was very common. I still do, actually. I still work with the top management constantly. Because top management, not so much now. In the last 10 years, it's kind of tapered off. But they used to love websites. I've been gaming. I've been playing D&D since 77. I have a 4-digit DCI, baby. I've been playing Magic since Alpha. I got the power in the closet right over there. I can pull it out.
Yeah,
you've seen it many times.
You're an entrenched gamer. You're not going to be looking to change up the paradigm and get growth synergy going across the market verticals.
Yes, I would. Totally.
I'm here. I'm interviewing you here.
Well, at the top of that, and I know technology inside out.
Steven, we want 20% top line growth by next year. What are you going to do to accomplish that? See?
No, 20%. First, I'd have to see what you have in the pipeline because it's going to be hard to accomplish 20% growth based on an addition change. But I'm going to tell you a few things you need to do if you really want to get into it.
I mean,
so first of all, Wizards of the Coast has only really put out 4 books last year.
Yeah,
Mark, you had the numbers. It was like
last year they put out 4 books. If you don't count the re-release of Dragon Queen.
Right.
And then this year they put out 1 so far.
Mm-hmm.
Which, to be fair, makes some amount of sense if you're getting ready to do a new edition.
Yes, but the year before they put out 6. How can you make money if you're not putting out product?
Okay, well, I will counterpoint that. That has been something that 5th edition has had its entire life cycle. I mean, when you think about,
oh, you're 100% right.
That's not a new thing.
You're right.
So, when I think back to 4th edition, I feel like there was a hardcover book coming out every month, in addition to adventure modules, which were soft cover or whatever. And a lot of people said it was product fatigue, and so I think 5th edition, was trying to maybe not do that.
Yes, but there's better ways to do it. Because I've been there since the beginning. I agree. There's a balance between product fatigue and exactly what they want. And do you know who actually has hit that balance perfectly right now?
Who would that be?
That's a little company called Paizo out there. That and Roll for Combat. But Paizo, no, seriously, because Paizo used to put out too much. And Mark knows because Mark worked there. Like, they used to put out the player's handbooks, those companion guides. They put out the modules. They put out, they put out way too much. Like, it was actually, and I subscribed to everything, but they have gotten it down to, I think I changed the camera. They've gotten it down to a really nice amount where they come out with one adventure a month. They come out with one lore book every 3 months, so 4 times a year. That's the Lost Omens. And then they come out with like a big major rule book, like 1 or 2 of those. I think 2 or 3 a year of those. Usually the typical tempo is 4 Lost Omens and 3 big rule books, but when there's a ginormous Lost Omens can change it up. Right. Because some of them are very big and they take up multiple slots. Right. They then also put out usually, their Adventure Path volumes for the year. Mm-hmm. They've got Starfinder content. In addition to that, they put out a ton of scenarios for organized play. In addition to that. Yeah. And that model, and some standalone adventures. That model has proven to work. It's been proven to work. It keeps people engaged with the community. It keeps people subscribed. And quite frankly, like, I am playing I'm playing an adventure path that I started years ago, but I still have my subscription to Pathfinder Adventures, even though I'm probably not going to play any of them because I just like to have them. And that is what we call our favorite people. It's people who subscribe and don't even use their product. When I worked with Blizzard, we used to call those people who's like, the people who never play and still have their subscriptions going. We love those people. Right. Those are the best people. But seriously, you need to come out with a consistent flow that people can be excited about, that can come out on a regular basis, and a model where you come out with something monthly, quarterly, yearly, and there's actually daily too. So when I build websites for people who want to engage with audiences, and in this like Instagram world is even more so, I won't even get into that, you want to have what's called daily, weekly, monthly content, and that's what I would do. But
didn't D&D have that with Unearthed Arcana?
What do you mean?
I mean, weren't they releasing Unearthed Arcana articles maybe once or twice a month?
But I don't want articles. I want products that you can buy. You want to make money? Well, if you're not selling anything, how are you going to make money?
With your recurring subscription model.
Right, but what are you going to give them for your recurring subscription model?
Access to your character.
Great.
I mean,
that's good. That's good.
What they're all doing.
You're right, and that's tier 1. But what if I could give them multiple tiers? Because once they're already in there, don't you want to upgrade them?
Sure.
Yeah, that's right. You want to upgrade. Everyone has upgrades. You want
to get the premium. It's got exclusive stuff in it.
That's right. You got to upgrade, and you get.
And this is what we were saying before we went live, which is that I think that, in my personal opinion, the powers that be in the gaming hobby space really do not know how to grow their market. And I don't know that anybody, and that's not like a critique against Cynthia Williams or against, I just don't think anyone has ever really known how to grow their audience. And so if you don't know how to grow your audience, then the only thing that you do know how to do is squeeze your existing audience
which
for
is
more
what
of their
they've
money.
Been doing, and everyone knows it.
But everyone's been doing that. Games Workshop has been doing that. Wizard Coast have been doing that.
You're right. What you need to do, there is a way to grow it, and they can do it. It's actually not that hard because they already have the hardest part. So the hardest part of business is actually getting brand recognition out there. and getting name recognition. Guess what? They already have that. Okay, everyone knows what D&D is. It's one of the highest in the world. So they have so many advantages. What they're doing now is that they are focusing on exactly what you said, is squeezing the people in D&D Beyond. They're going all digital. Mm-hmm. And that's actually not a wrong move, but it can't be the only move. Okay? And the thing is, you have to work. Okay, coming out with these monthly subscriptions and coming out with like a monthly adventure path and all this, it's probably not even going to make you money. It'll probably barely break even or make you a little bit of money. But that's not the point. Okay, there's a lot of things. And the problem is, I think a lot of companies are going towards, if this doesn't make us $10 billion, we're not going to do it. It's like, no, you have to have something for everybody. And what they need to do is really look at their market and brand for new people, like with starter sets, and with people who want to get into hobbies. The other thing you need to go, and I can't believe they don't do this, is they need to market and have an entire division to go to schools and libraries. Because I get this all the time from libraries for Roll for Combat. They all have D&D and role-playing divisions, and you need to support that big time so that you can get into the community and get people to play. You need to basically do all this grassroots stuff that I feel like D&D used to do, just because that was the only way you could play, is it had to be grassroots, especially. Well,
but also, like, I remember there was a time, right, where Wizards of the Coast had stores in malls.
I remember that. Yeah.
And you could go there and they would have like Learn a Magic Day, and you'd get like these like beginner set magic decks, and they would have like what was basically Adventurers League, but it wasn't Adventurers League, it was RPGA back then. But like nowadays, you know, these grassroots efforts that you're talking about, kids don't leave their house.
That's actually not true. That it is and it's not.
Well, no child I know.
Well, but I get a lot of so libraries come to me all the time asking for D&D donation books.
Well, libraries are struggling to define how relevant they are. So
correct, but this is one of the aspects that they do very well with, and in fact, they're one of the biggest buyers of role-playing game books as libraries. So you might as well support them and give them an infrastructure and support them.
Physical or digital? Because everybody I know that uses a library still basically uses it for digital renting.
Physical. Yeah. Both. Yeah, no, they do.
We did have a super chat.
We had a few. We had one that was just a +3 thumbs up from Khadgar 4606 for 22 Turkish lira. Mm-hmm. And then we had Maceman 94 499 said, I don't know how much people here care about it. The Paizo blog just announced which deity is dying. That's true. They had a stream last night about it as well.
R.I.P.
Spoiler. It's Gorham, the god of war.
God of war. R.I.P. Gorham.
Yeah.
And it's as if 1,000 war priests suddenly shouted out. Their voices were silent.
Someone also asked me, would I make the PDFs available? I'd have to see. The first thing I would do is find out what is the reasoning why they don't make them available.
Full stop. Yeah. Derik Malenda.
Yeah.
Representing the Knights of Last Call.
Yes.
I am fully prepared to endorse Stephen Glicker for president of Wizards of the Coast if you can get the company to revoke the GSL and allow 4th edition to be open sourced and usable by the community.
I put it this way.
I do want to point out, Derek, that at least in a public statement, WotC claimed they're going to try to get all of the previous editions up onto the Creative Commons as well. Okay. They didn't do it, but they did say that.
So I want you to deliver on that.
I would, but this way, as long as there's no legal ramifications, I would totally do that, because there's
the torpedoes, full speed ahead.
No, well, again, they're a publicly traded company, and there could be legal reasons. There could be rights issues that you're not aware of, that they can't do it, or they can release only 80% of it, and then it's like, well, how do we only release 80% without that 20? You don't know, and I don't know either until you really look into it. But to be honest, I completely agree on that, is that the past editions, as long as you don't release lore and anything protected, sure, release the mechanics, you might as well. And then also probably put in yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't, but I know why they wouldn't, because people have gotten very scared of making anything open source in any way, shape, or form. And I was even just watching something about this on how back in the day, I mean, you guys aren't as old as me, but there used to be this thing called repair shops. And back when you had a VCR, which cost $500 back in the 80s, which is like $2,000 today, you didn't buy a new VCR when your VCR broke. And these things broke all the time. You brought them to the repair shop and they fixed it. And I used to fix it a lot. I used to always have my VCRs fixed. Oh, that was it. I was watching the history of the light bulb and how light bulbs could have actually lasted way longer. And they were purposely, planned obsolescence. They were purposely made with laws in other countries to make them break, to make them no longer work. And everything has now become planned obsolescence where you just throw stuff out. So they want to keep everything in-house because if you ever want it, they want you to go to you. The companies want the consumer to go to the company to get it. So
Apple, John Deere, all of those companies do the same thing.
Yeah.
But
I also remember that there's like a very specific warning tale about some company that made some kind of kitchenware. I think it was a pot or something like that was so good and had such a long shelf life that you never needed to buy one again for the rest of your life, and they just went down.
Oh yeah.
They just went down because people who heard about them bought it and then they were done, and they never needed to buy it again because it was really, really high quality and sturdy, and you didn't need to buy it again.
Or I'll do you one. I had my washing machine broke last year, and I was like diagnosing it, and it was clearly something wrong with the circuit board. And I have a multimeter, and I could tell that a number of the diodes on this thing shorted out. And I was like, okay, I'll just go buy a new PCB, right? I'll go buy a new printed circuit board and replace it for my not that insanely old, washer and dryer. The fact that it has a circuit board, right, should tell you something. Digital, The printed circuit board was like $35 more expensive than just buying like a whole new washing machine.
Yes. I had the same thing happen.
I would have lost money doing the work myself.
Yep.
Yeah.
So my microwave broke, and they're like, just buy a new one. It's cheaper to buy a new one than to fix it. And that's what our culture. Anyhow, the reason I get to that long answer to your question, Derik, is that is the culture that is corporate culture today. So they don't want to give anything away. Right. And that's why they probably, why would they? What do they get from it? It's like, well, what do we get from it? Nothing. What do you lose from it? Everything. Okay, well, we're not going to do it because you just never know. Maybe we need it. But, that's lazy. There's ways to protect it. I mean, you and I, if there's anyone who knows OGL and ORC, it's us. And yeah, you can release that. We got a couple of super chats. Those who are late.
Yeah, we've had a few.
466. Start Glicker for president. Seriously.
Oh.
And for WotC president, and seriously, I'm dead. I know we're joking. I'm dead serious. I have been thinking about this for years of how to fix it. I love the game. I love Magic. I love D&D. I know technology. I know gaming. I know Fortune 500 culture. I know all this stuff, and I was like, I can go in there, and I think actually bring it around and do a good job. And all I'm saying is I just need my foot in the door. If I get that interview, I'll do the rest.
So there were a few new super chats. Loremonger for $5 said, Porum for Gorum. Dwayne Edwards for $5 said, hey guys, wanted to just jump in and say, great stream. Been listening to y'all for a while. Keep up the good work. And Mark T for $4.99 said, I use the PDFs, but I buy RFC books to donate to game clubs or the library. P.S. Excited for the Eldamon video, Derik. Wait, that happened though.
No, I have to do the Eldamon song.
Oh, right, the song. Yes.
And I finally have the lyrics done. I just need to record it.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. So definitely.
And John Bonanza for $4.99, responding to Steven, talking about handiness, said that it's a dying trait. Most people don't know how to do basic repairs or construction, even with the knowledge freely available on YouTube.
Right.
Oh God, yeah. Now that's such a big thing.
But again, as someone who woodworks, I could go build my own cabinets. But I'm telling you, if I did it all the work myself and I started from raw plywood sheet goods, it would be way more expensive for me, ignoring my time. just the material cost alone would be more expensive than just going and buying them from some store.
So it's so to be totally honest, so what you want to do, back to what we were saying, it's that they really only seem to have like 1 or 2 revenues of money and attack. It's like, okay, we're gonna come up with a subscription model, move everyone over to this walled garden, D&D Beyond and VTT, and come up with a new. It's like they come out with so few books. It's like I just don't see. It's like, how are they making money? Because they're not coming out with anything. It's like nothing is coming out. So we need to have an approach very similar to Paizo, where we're coming out with a steady stream, and it doesn't have to be a new 300-page book, man. It could just be, and they're not even splat books. It could be, I don't know, Dragons of the Month, Wonder where that idea came from. By the way, do check out Secret Dragons over at Kickstarter.rollforcombat.com, where we come out with a new family of dragons every 3 months, and kicking it off with 4 books of Secret Dragons, because that's exactly what we do here at Roll for Combat. And from personal experience, I can tell you, coming out with a new ancestry/race every month, coming out with new dragons every 3 months, very, very profitable. Does really, really well. Keeps people excited, keeps people engaged, keeps people talking, keeps people looking forward to something. It's a pretty good business model, Just saying.
Sean Clayton for $4.99 says, I support Steven for president because it'll increase the value of my dice case.
It's true. You should have got him to sign it.
That's true. I did give him one of my dice cases. You missed one. True. Is John?
Another one from John.
Yeah.
My patrons are all coming out in the woodwork today. These are all.
Oh, what does that one say? It says Steven's first order of business as WotC Prez buying Paizo is what John Bonanza says.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I'll leave it at that. It's a very good
Lord
idea.
Alathorn for $5 says Matt Colville came out with an idea for going back to modules. Could Hasbro produce digital and paper modules frequently?
That has proven historically to be a loser.
You completely. I actually know the math because I've spoken to Eric about it. Eric Mona. Yeah, unless there's a subscription, because the subscriptions pay for it. It's basically the same as the magazine model. Like, why magazines all disappeared is because subscriptions went away, and the subscriptions paid for the printing and mailing of the magazines. So if you don't have that base, you're not going to do well. But you can do small. That's what I'm saying. You can't go crazy here. And as long as you have like something that, okay, you do what we do. Like I put out, we did Year of Legends, which was Kickstarter where you get legendary creatures to play. And it was all digital. We had nothing physical at all. Nothing, not a single thing physical. And you get a PDF every month, you get animated tokens, and you get a Foundry module. And it did $122,000 on Kickstarter. And even the people at Kickstarter were surprised when I was talking to them, because they were like, wow, it's like digital only never does well. Like, I'm like, yeah, because if you give them something that they want, and we are doing a compilation of it physical as well. So you can do both. You can actually not come out with a dungeon every month, but physical, but come out with one digitally, do it on DDB and maybe other platforms.
Yeah, it would be part of a more premier subscription. And you call it like the Layer Master one, and it's the one where you get like a cool dungeon that's easy to add into your.
Aren't you just basically recreating Dungeon and Dragon magazine at that point?
Shh! Don't tell anyone.
I mean, you could also call it that if you want to use the cachet of the old names.
Yeah, I mean,
but you know what? There was nothing wrong with that. It's just a little bit more. You know what? You're right there, except it's more focused.
Yeah, sure.
And it's not just like. But
I'm being biased here, but I mean, because I'm people ranting about the subscription model and all this other stuff. Let me tell you something. From the time I was old enough to have a paper route, when I was 11 years old or something, 12 years old, I had my subscription to Dragon and Dungeon magazine, and I look forward to that magazine every single month.
Dude, when Dungeon magazine went out of business, I was devastated.
And part of the reason why I gained respect for Paizo and when why I started playing Pathfinder First Edition is because they had stewardship of Dragon and Dungeon magazine before Wizards of the Coast took it back, and they did a great job with it. They did a great job with the magazine. So I was paying for a subscription model for decades, and this was during the 90s and the early 2000s. And you know what? Didn't care because it was awesome. It was amazing.
Yeah, but the point is that, so back to that model, and we're jumping all over the place here, is that you have multiple avenues. I don't want my camera to go off. You got multiple avenues for people to buy in and subscribe and use Dungeons and Dragons. So you have a monthly model, you have a quarterly model, you have a yearly model, and you also will have newcomers. And then you have multiple models also so you have like 2 layers. You have different silos for the models of like who is playing and how much they want to be invested in it. Then you have then sideways, you have the models of, okay, how do you get to people? Do you have clubs through libraries and schools and colleges, don't forget colleges, and have that organized, which you should do? Do you have online clubs and models as well, which you definitely need to do? Do you have online play? Who was, by the way, I'm going to keep toting my own horn because, God damn it, I deserve it. Who was the one who started the very first
Starfinder actual play?
No, not Starfinder actual play. I did the first Starfinder actual play. No, had the first online lodge for Pathfinder, Society. Sorry, I blanked there. Me. We did at Roll for Combat. We had the very first one. We're the first digital only. There was play by post, but I did play by Discord, and we were officially the first lodge ever to be recognized by for being Discord play by post. How many people do play by post now, or do play by Discord? Everyone. It's incredibly popular. I have hundreds of games going on our Discord channel at any one time, and it is the way a lot of people like to play. And people do this on D&D, by the way. They already do this. In fact, if you see the play by post D&D channel on Order of the Stick, that is insane. If you've ever seen that, it's like the craziest thing you've ever seen. My point is that organize it, okay? Organize it, make it official. Like, it's not that hard. I actually know someone who knows exactly how to do that, Mark. I wonder if Linda's available. I wonder if I know all these people who can do exactly what needs to be done, that have years of experience doing this. Mark, Linda, all these other people in the industry that I know. I wonder.
So what I'm hearing is you're going to take possession of the position. You're going to take hold of the position. Then in a sweeping nepotistic move, you're going to bring in all of your cronies and force out all the entrenched bureaucrats and just replace it with loyal yes men and yes women.
Not at all. You think Mark and I don't fight over stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, but now you're a big Lord
Doesn't
Master.
matter.
Now you're Lord Glicker.
Nah, that's not true. Actually, my president of my company, Tara, her and I were like best friends. And I went to her wedding. I was like, her and I were best friends. And she was number 2. We didn't agree on things. Like, I am very friendly with my employees. I'm very friendly with Mark. Mark and I are friends. I like to think we're friends, even though he works for me. I mean, I'm not a dick. At least I try not to think I am. The point is and that's the other thing. You can do that balance. You can do the balance. I wouldn't bring in cronies, but like there is a lot of very smart people that know how to do this, who have been in the industry, and there's not a lot of people who can. I mean, there's a reason why, I don't know, WotC went to Paizo and hired everyone there. Because where else are you going to find people? Seriously. I mean, there's other companies. There's not that many companies that do this for a living. There just aren't. So where do you find them? And that's something else. And this is like not a small thing. Okay. I'm going to give you a story. John Statz. You know John. He was the first 3D programmer ever hired by Blizzard of the Coast and did all the dungeons for Wizards.
Blizzard of the Coast?
Blizzard of the Coast. Yeah, Blizzard of the Coast. I'm blowing up here. That would be a cool name for Blizzard. And they found him because he was making mods for Quake, and he built a crazy mod that recreated the Death Star inside the Death Star, and where it was team versus team, versus, and he had models of like statues that broke all the laws of the game, and these models were so big that they looked at this and they said, man, this guy not only is his level design fantastic, but he figured out a way to put these gigantic statues in Quake and Doom that no one could figure out. So they called him up, interviewed him, flew him out to Blizzard, and hired him because they said, we have this game called World of Warcraft that we're making, and we need everything really big. Think about how big the statues are in World of Warcraft. Everything's oversized. And that's how he got the job. He literally got the job because of his experience. If you want the new TTRPG designers, you need to have methods and ways to find them and hire them. And whether that's through RPG Superstar or coming up with contests, and I would start something like that. I would have a contest for, finding new people for D&D. You need to have these methods to help grow the hobby and find people to then take over aspects of the hobby, either directly or indirectly. Heck, I'd probably hire Kelsey. Kelsey Dion from Shadow Dark. I'd hire her in 2 freaking seconds. I'd hire her because she knows what she's doing. There's a lot of these people that are out there that are, working on their own stuff, but they actually know what they're doing.
No, I don't think that, but also a lot of these people that are doing all this stuff, they are not working for a publicly traded company.
True.
Right. That has the kind of hurdles and red tape and concerns that we can't even fathom having to make those kind of decisions with the kind of pressure coming down from a board above you. It's a very complicated problem. I guess
it's not that bad.
I mean, I know that obviously the CEO can definitely set the tone of the company, but I mean, like, at the end of the day, the people who are writing shitty Spelljammer books and shitty Dragonlance books, that wasn't Cynthia Williams' call. That wasn't her decision. She didn't have editorial oversight over the fact that the Spelljammer book didn't have ship combat rules.
Well, I mean, not directly, right? But she might have been putting pressure on them that forced them to do it in a certain way that maybe they didn't want to do. Maybe they wanted more time or more space. And they said, look, and maybe they were not talking to Cynthia. Maybe they were talking to Kyle Brink or someone who was in the middle between those two. And they're like, Kyle, we need at least 40 more pages to do justice to ship combat. And that's a mainstay of Spelljammer. Maybe they said that. And Kyle was like, well, I can't give you that. I talked to Cynthia and the others at the top. Those 5 people that Baron talks about saying the ton of the company. I went to the room. I pushed for you. Kyle probably said, based on at least the way he represented things during his apology tour, right? I pushed for your pages, but we couldn't get it because the shareholders are demanding a particular amount of cost or whatever the case may be. So we don't know that. Maybe it isn't. Maybe they were like, I don't want ship combat, and everybody agreed not to put it in. We are not inside the company, so we don't know what happened from above or below, and it's opaque.
So real quick, we do have a couple super chats here to show.
Oh yeah, we have several.
Yeah. So Vaughn Cockle with £2 says, plus the OGL mess, what MTG issues did she oversee? And I would basically summarize that by saying the biggest explosion of product bloat that we've ever seen, including direct order, limited print, and of course the infamous $1,000 proxy packs. So some pretty shitty stuff in my personal opinion. Avenue Studios with their first super chat, $5 says, bets on next AI bot headline. Stephen Glicker named president of WotC, rides in on dragon. Which is fantastic. Glade Riven also with $5 says, Stephen Glicker at Roll for Combat for new WotC president. Let's get this trending on socials. Has 6 likes. So it's spreading, Stephen. It's spreading. John B, our boy Johnny B is back here, $5. Make a new mailed magazine subscription that's just a collection of modules. Call it Wizards of the Post. I love that, but then again, I love modules, and I think that is the core essence of what it is that D&D built its foundation on.
Rules Lawyer says Glicker for President's Cypher for game design. You better believe Mark would be coming with me, baby, and Mark would be right in the thick of D&D.
Look, I'm a very cynical person, and I said, obviously, I appreciate your enthusiasm for this, just for the meme / trolling potential. But I do say this with a degree of sincerity. I mean, given a choice, yeah, I think someone like you would be perfect, because a lot of people like, I'll pick on Mark here, right? Mark is a great game designer, one of the best. But what is Mark? What is Mark going to do with corporate boardroom and having to look at dealing with the high-handed people? You don't want to deal with that. That's a waste. That's a waste of resources, right? Yeah. Whereas that's kind of what you've been doing anyways, and you definitely have this really strange pedigree of a million different jobs that have put you into that role. So while I don't know who would be the best president for Wizards of the Coast, I will say, I mean, I would say that, yeah, you would make it probably a pretty good one. So,
and the other thing I would do is I'd go back to the freaking cons, baby.
Yeah, I mean, there
may be number crunchers on there that are above your pay grade, even if you got that job, who would be like, no, we're not doing it.
You can go. Well, the thing is, this is the thing. So every con, when I go, they have people there. They always do. Like Amanda Hammond's always there. I always see her. I always talk with her. I always meet up with her. And she's always there, usually as an unofficial capacity. Like she's always like, oh, I'm here, but just as me. Sometimes she's there officially, but she's still there. I'm like, you know what? You can go unofficially, and it's like, just even unofficially. You'd be amazed how much you can get done unofficially.
See, I'm trying to remember the movie that this quote is from. I think it's from the movie. Oh, it's got Reese Witherspoon and Matthew Broderick. It's called Election. Is that the name of the movie?
Yeah, Election. It's like one of my favorite
movies. Is it the one
movies.
where they win the election for student president by one vote?
Yeah, it's the student president one with the guy from American Pie. And
yes.
But there's a thing where I think she's campaigning, and they're basically like, "What are you doing?" She's like the really go-getter, and she's like, because basically she has it like everyone assumes she has it locked up, and she goes, Coca-Cola is undeserved or is completely number one, but they still spend more money on advertising than any other company.
Exactly.
And so that's what makes me think about Wizards of the Coast. I think their philosophy over the last 10 years has been, we're number one. We don't need to spend money here.
Wrong.
And yes, they are number one. But you know what? So then be number one. Be a Gen Con. Buy 50 booths. Build the castle. If you're going to be the king of the castle, be the king of the castle.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Have your queenship lord over all these lesser companies, and have people go, where am I going to spend my money? On the little indie booth over here with the paper sign, or the massive constructed castle. Now, yeah, I get it. That might not seem like a fair comparison, but what I'm saying is D&D, I think, has been riding on its own coattails for way too long. Way too long.
No, I completely agree.
And the community has finally reached this saturation point where that goodwill has sort of bought itself out, and people are looking elsewhere. They're playing other games. They're switching systems. They're dialing back their purchases. They're cutting off their subscriptions, or or nothing has changed, but their passion, their intensity, their focus, their willingness to be a advocate for the game has gone away. And now they're kind of just like, yeah, I play D&D,
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting those top people to be more excited. It might not even be short term. Honestly, that castle, maybe it's long term. Maybe it's the people who 10 years later still remember going to that castle.
Yeah. Oh, you're
now losing for the future.
You are 100% right, Mark, because I went to E3 every single year. And you want to talk about booths. Oh my God. We're talking like, I've still talk about this booth. I talk about the Final Fantasy 7, actually it was Final Fantasy 8. Final Fantasy 8 booth. Was it 8 or 7? Well, anyhow, it was Final Fantasy. No, I think it was 10. And they're at E3, and they had a freaking castle that was so big. It had an elevator. In the booth. I still remember there was Greek fire coming up. It was 3 stories high. They had this gigantic. I was like, I'm sitting there like, they must have spent millions on this thing. I'm like, who puts an elevator in a booth that's going to be taken down in 3 days? And it's like, and Nintendo, the Nintendo booth, forget it. I can remember all the booths at E3. They were incredible. And I still talk about them. Look, I'm talking about a booth from 25 years ago to this day. Yeah, you need to wow them.
Yeah. We also had a super chat. Their first super chat from E, $3, said libraries would love interactions with publishers.
See?
So,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm going to assume that E works as a librarian.
I get librarians talk to me all the time. I get them all the time. And they would love it. They would love it. And it's not like, it's not like, oh, I have to go out there. No, you have a division. And it doesn't have to be big. It can be a small division. And the thing is, it's like, the problem with these big companies sometimes is like, okay, does that make me money? And the answer would be maybe not directly. But you know what? You need to have indirect. Look at us. I put out a lot of free stuff, okay? A lot of free stuff. Mark knows this. You guys know this. I don't make any money on that directly, but I'm hoping you'll like our free stuff enough that you come and buy our stuff, and then you learn more about us. You need
Here's
to
my
do
D&D analogy for that, and why you're right. But a company is kind of like a party in D&D.
Okay.
And the problem is that the shareholders or the top board members are exactly like those people who post online and are like, the correct build is only highest DPR. And they're like, yes, we're just going to go all the highest DPR build. We only care about the person, or on an MMO, right? We only care about that person who is the carry, who's doing the heavy damage. And meanwhile, if you actually know how to play the game, you know that, like, hey, that bard who's back there maybe didn't do that much damage directly, but he's giving everybody else these +1s. And those +1s are causing a huge amount of damage for the party. It's much more than if you just added one extra barbarian in there.
Right.
And so in that sense, those things that don't directly make money, but that buff your entire brand are the bard.
Yeah.
And then like each role at the company, I can see as like sort of a different part of it, right? Like customer service is probably the tanks, because they're up there in the front dealing with aggro. And you can kind of figure out the rest from there.
Boy, yeah. That is the most leading poll of all time.
You know what? I see it all the time, but like I won't tell, but I just like sites I go to. I watch a lot of videos of people live who have 3 million subscribers. It works. Hey man, I like, please like and subscribe if you like this.
So there's another super chat. Phoenix Guard says, President Glicker commands from the front. There at Gen Con, personally manning the WotC booth. And I see from Rules Lawyer in all caps, Glicker for president, elevators at Gen Con.
The thing is, I would totally, but you guys know me. You see me at these conventions. I would be totally in the mix and talking to everyone. I'm like,
absolutely. Oh, yeah. God, and again, not to berate, and I get it. We live in the age of digital media and Twitter and X and whatever. But like, there were conversations that I had with game developers at Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember a seminar that was led by Sean K. Reynolds, and he stuck around for like 90 minutes after the seminar was over just to hang out, shoot the shit, talk about Forgotten Realms, doing stuff like that. And that was probably 2003, 2004. That was like huge for me. And I still remember that conversation extremely well. Getting a chance to, talk with Monty Cook and Bruce Cordell and a lot of these other people, John Tweet. And it was huge. It was like a big deal for me. And just having that one instance in that buy-in. But I do want to kind of shift something to sort of more hypothesizing. So, because Rules Lawyer, as always, had a nice little take where he said, it must be super embarrassing for the digital savior to step down only after 2 years. Maybe they dial back their digital initiative, at least, but at the very least, it's showing a deep crisis of confidence. So let's talk about this hypothetically. You are in the midst of a transitional period, which is when you probably want the most structured leadership. because you are overseeing this new edition that isn't a new edition, and then OGL blows up, and then it's D&D 1, and then it's nope, it's just D&D 5e forever, and also here's all this Unearthed Arcana, and also we're rolling it all back, but also here's a bunch of stuff, and it's coming out, but we don't know what it's going to be. And now your president is stepping down, and on a very short term. It's not even like, well, at the end of this year, Cynthia is going to, it's like next week.
By the way, the reason for that is the 24th at 8:30 a.m. Hasbro's Q1 numbers are out, which, by the way, were Christmas.
So they're going to be terrible.
Oh, they're going to be absolutely terrible. It's going to be absolutely.
Weird if they were super good.
They're going to be terrible,
leaving, right?
No, those numbers are going to be terrible because then she leaves on the 26th. I guarantee those numbers are terrible.
So in that case, this is what? This is an attempt to sort of like forestall the stock drop?
Yes. They also need to... my opinion is, again, working in this industry a long time, being, working with Fortune 500, they probably went to her and said, you can either leave voluntarily or we're going to have to let you go. Or it could be she just doesn't want to deal with this and she's leaving. Maybe it's like the road ahead is too hard, and who knows? But the timing is incredibly suspicious. I'll leave it at that.
Because I agree with, to a certain degree, Sergeant Dan, who had a $5 super chat, said Cynthia was the sacrificial lamb to save the CEO from the consequences of his bad decisions. I agree that there is momentum at play here. A lot of these decisions were in the pipe a long time before Cynthia Williams ever got. And by the time
you're 100% correct, and that's why a lot of these ideas that I came up with, you can implement fast now. Very small overhead, very small lift, and you can get a lot of return without disrupting everything you're already doing. And I'm not going to get into full details because I actually have this planned out even in more detail, but I really don't want to get into it.
He's keeping that one in his back pocket.
I don't want to give away everything, but I actually have a way of how you can implement this really quick, like within a couple of months, and start the ball rolling and literally start having content coming out. And it really is an incredibly small lift to do this and still have a massive impact. Now, will it actually give you millions of dollars in sale? No, but in the long run, this is how you look at it. If you fire a bullet, you're firing a bullet, and the bullet is profit, earnings, everything. The brand, the D&D brand. And you're firing a bullet from New York to LA. Now, if you get that trajectory just right, you'll hit. But if you are off by just a small amount, you're going to go to San Francisco or end up in the ocean or be in Mexico. So you start off small, but if you do it correctly, it will grow and become bigger over time. And that's what I'm thinking, is you got to lay down the foundation. And you can still do everything else, and then you can actually, if you're doing like the monthly releases, the quarterly releases I was talking about, you can still integrate that into D&D Beyond and into everything else. It's no harder than them integrating third-party materials. So you still do that, and everyone wins. That's like a part of my plan, but I actually have more to it. But yes. I don't know. I don't know. I think she's she's leaving. She's leaving on the 26th. Quarterlies are the 24th. It is going to be a bloodbath, and it's going to be Christmas. I'm sure it's going to be atrocious, and they have to get ahead of this.
You think that a lot of other people are going to? And
there's definitely, unfortunately, on the 26th, other people are going to lose their job, unfortunately. She's probably one of many, but she's the biggest one. So,
yeah. You and Baron apparently seem to conspire to the fact that she has what would, in my opinion, probably be an outsized influence on the course and direction of the game. But I do think it's interesting, forgetting about the game itself.
I guarantee she does, because it's indirect. Because it can be as simple as this. Okay, I'm just literally going to throw this out there, and Mark knows this, and because he's worked in the industry. She could have said, "Okay, we're coming out with a book. It has to be 3 books that are 64 pages each. They're like Spelljammer." She's like, "Great." It's like, but we need to it would be much better if we got these rules and this rules, but it's going to cost more, and we'll have to go up to like 96 pages each. Nope, we're not. So
here, let me give you a specific example. Okay, about how having the right leadership in those kind of positions can help. Okay. the book that is coming out next for Paizo is Lost Omens Tian Sha. And Tian Sha World Guide and Tian Sha Character Guide are coming out. And these books are looking fantastic. Okay? And they have tons of content that would not have been in there if there wasn't the right leadership who would say yes on the proposal of, can we do, this is a lot of content. This is a whole continent that's bigger than the continents we've done before. Can we do 2 books with this much length? Can it take that much of that many of the slots? And if the answer was just, well, you know, that's too much, we have to kind of spread things around, because if it's too much in one basket, it could be a problem for the company's financials that quarter, then they might not have been able to do that. And Tian Sha wouldn't be nearly as awesome as it's looking like it's turning out to be, right? And that's something where the executives get to make the call. And there are situations like that all the time when you're trying to figure out what is going on with the books.
My point is that from the top, you can command like the size, and like you can do it without realizing it. And that's the problem. And you have to be open to them. And maybe they did go to her and say, you know what, we really need ship combat in here, and it's going to add $1 to the books. But that $1 could make or break our reviews. And because she doesn't know what the hell probably Spelljammer is and has no idea, it didn't mean anything to her. Now, again, this is all alleged, but I'm probably willing to bet she's never played Spelljammer in her life, okay? I was just excited because they're coming out with the Spelljammer hardcover novel. Just novel. And I was excited. I'm like, good, I'm going to buy that. I can't wait to read it. I just saw that in the news. That was going to be one of my news topics. That's how excited I am. You know what? Knowing the damn game and knowing what you're freaking selling matters. Okay? It's very important.
I mean, to a certain extent. There's also, I know a lot of people who work in IT who basically say, like, it doesn't matter what my product is. I just, you know, my job is...
That's IT, and I completely agree to a point of that. When you're making a database, it doesn't matter.
But also knowing how to delegate. Here's another example. Leshies, okay? Derik, I know you don't like them, but you have to admit that they are so popular for Paizo that they made it into the core and that many people do like them.
Tiltingly so.
Tiltingly so. Okay. So if the leadership at Paizo had been like, no, I'm going to listen to my own opinion and not the opinion of subordinates, they wouldn't have made it in as an ancestry. But we didn't have that leadership at Paizo, because what happened was I came into a meeting discussing what should come into the character guide as a representative of the design team. I was told to pitch Leshies by the other designers. I did. And all of the highest ranking people in that room were like, they were like Derik Malenda's on that. They had exactly the same points that you made.
Malenda's, oh my God.
They were all like, this is not serious enough as our stuff. And I don't know about this. But then everybody else, there was strong support across the room. And they said, you know what? This is something I'm not seeing, but considering how many of all of you do, there's probably a huge segment of people, and maybe they're not covered by the other ones, which I do like. And so therefore, we got to do the one that I don't agree with personally, because that's what's better for Pathfinder. But I could easily see an executive who did not do that, right? Who'd be like, I don't like it. We're not doing it. That's my thought. And so there are times when high-ranking people can make decisions. Now, she may be so high up on the food chain that she wouldn't have even been in a meeting like that, and maybe she only does it by proxy with Kyle Brink or somebody else. We don't know the structure. Right. I'm just saying it can matter more than it might seem, even though the on-the-ground people have a lot of power to do the actual writing.
By the way, John... Let me real quick, and then you can talk. John says he doesn't believe the stats that believe Leshies are so popular. Let me tell you, when I was at PaizoCon, I think it was like 2018, and that was a PaizoCon where you got to play a Leshy for the first time. And now I realize PaizoCon has the most hardcore of the hardcore, but still, that's all people were talking about. Like, people were talking about, they were like, oh my God, I got to play Leshy. Oh my God, I got to play. That's it. Like, that was the talk of PaizoCon that year.
I assure you that there are analytics that they were the most popular, because that was even announced by Paizo that using oh look, it's his Leshy hat.
It's the Leshy hat.
Paizo announced when they made Leshies be free in Pathfinder Society Organized Play that they used the analytics for what was the most played to determine that, as well as the meta plot decisions and scenarios that people were playing to bring Leshies into the fold. So I can assure you that this is a real thing. It's not just that huge swaths of inside of Paizo like Leshies, although obviously there were people who did. And that was a big part of it, because if nobody at Paizo did, it wouldn't have made it past that meeting, right?
By the way, I think I finally turned off gesture controls on my camera.
Yeah, your camera's all over the place.
I know. Well, that is gesture controls, so I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on here. There we go.
So let me ask this question then.
I'm voting.
Let me take this hat off. By the way, let it not be said that I don't commit to the bit, okay?
Oh, you commit to the bid more than anyone I know.
Okay, yeah, exactly. I mean,
and then if I become president, I'm going to make you walk. I'm going to have you walking around as a mascot in a big costume.
How many of you like Leshies a lot and have your own Leshy costume hat? Okay, all right. Anyways,
even Linda doesn't have a Leshy costume hat. I'm going to find wearing a Leshy shirt today.
I'm going to find the absolute cutest thing I could find in D&D lore, and have Derik dress up in that costume.
A flump.
A flump. You can be a flump. You'll be walking around in a flump costume.
Are you going to make him do that at Gen Con?
At Gen Con.
I'll have
big pictures.
So...
I'll have a big sign. Take your picture with the flump. His name is Derik.
Right. So let me be devil's advocate here for a minute. Now, obviously, for you, your company specifically, it's a mixed bag, because you do make rule books and you do make features and adventures for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. But for all of the people out there, like the aforementioned Kelsey Dions of Shadow Dark of fame, and for the questing beasts and Karns and all this other stuff, is having a failing D&D been good for them? I would say it probably has been.
Correct.
And so, if you're one of those people, wouldn't you think that the idea that D&D would be replaced by, the president would be replaced by a real gamer who cares about the game, is going to make the best game, and bring back all those people who left to go to other, isn't that kind of scary for them? Isn't that something they would probably not want?
No.
No matter what they tell you on their YouTube channels, isn't D&D suffering and failing good for them because it's bringing people into their ecosystem, into their games?
That's why you bring those people into WotC.
I think that, Derik, that there's an extent to which, as gamers, not everyone who is doing other things thinks that way that's purely mercenary. Because as gamers, there's a collective love of the hobby that motivates, maybe not all of them. I don't know. I didn't poll the names that you listed there, but that probably a lot of them to be like, obviously they love it when their stuff is doing well, but they also just love it if the hobby is doing well, and they love it if the standard bearer for the hobby is doing something that people can feel good about supporting.
I mean, but I don't know. I understand there's a lot less people in the hobby that are like me, where I will play sometimes at the same time 3 or 4 or 5 different systems, right? Most people are one system through and through, and they're this sort of this very monotonic.
And by the way, that system is D&D.
And by the way, that system is D&D.
People who play other systems usually play multiple.
Well, because there's a force multiplier effect here, which I'm sure you all are very much aware of this, because you can't play D&D by yourself. You can't play Pathfinder by yourself. Yeah, I mean, in fact, one of the reasons we've seen a rise in the popularity of systems like Ironforge and Ironsworn and Starforge is because people have been like, wow, I really want to play this game, but none of my players want to play this game. They don't want to buy the rules. They don't want to read the new rules. They want to keep it. So you need this critical mass of people playing a game. And so from a very selfish perspective, if you're let's say a D&D player, you want kind of everybody to play D&D because that gives you the most options available to play.
Yeah. But the thing is that, and I mean, I'm very, very curious to see why they did this. But one of the beautiful things about D&D back in the day, and I know it didn't sell well, is that they had different worlds, and you know this. I mean, they had like all the different worlds, and so if you wanted to play dark magic, they had that world. If you wanted to play,
you mean Dark Sun or Dark Matter?
Dark Sun, really. But like, if you wanted to play like a Dark Sun type world, but I'm trying to think of, it's like they had like high magic worlds, they had like technology worlds, whatever you wanted. They had
that bankrupted TSR.
Yeah, right. It was not a good thing.
No.
I enjoyed it.
Wait.
I enjoyed the shit out of it too.
You're 100%. It bankrupted them. But then, once again, you look at the Paizo model. It's like, well, you can have your cake and eat it too, because we have different worlds in our one world, right. So you can that's the World of Warcraft model.
And I've been very vocal about this. I think that's just a complete cop out. And like I know it works.
It's a complete cop out that works.
Yeah, but I dislike that. I mean, for me personally. But again, I'm one of those people who liked having distinct and separate worlds, because D&D was never a super generic system, but it was a generic enough that you could do different things with it.
The thing is that Shadowdark is doing very well. And the OSRs are doing very well, because people actually like it and want it. So why not beat them, join them? Like, you can come out with an OSR version of D&D, or better yet, you bring Kelsey on and have Shadowdark as part of D&D. I mean, there's options. That's all I'm saying. It's like,
no, I agree. Yeah, but that's a dangerous thing, right? Because now you've created this anti-WotC rallying cry, and so now you'd be joining up with the enemy, and you people like you, Mr. I want to be the president, have been behind some of that vocalization,
because I can do a better job.
and sort of organized protesting.
Oh yeah,
I can't cancel your sub. Show them we mean
I'm
business.
Sure I cost them. You know what? Here's my proposition.
Now you're like, fire me.
I cost you millions of dollars in canceled subs. You know it, and I know it. I'll bring it all back, baby.
The audacity and the straight-facedness with which you can say that is truly humbling to me.
Because it's going to happen.
Steven is quite a character, and he is one of a kind, Derik.
Yeah, that is true, and that is true. But
yeah, the thing is, you also know, you're like, that is such a thing I would say, and yet it probably would still happen.
If I've learned one thing, it's never underestimate the Glicker. Let's just put it that way. Anytime I think I've got like an inside edge, you're like, well, actually, let me tell you about the time I was a spy for the CIA in the late 80s. I was undercover in East Germany, and I was there working with a tech firm, and the CIA contacted me and said, you need to assassinate this high-ranking member of the KGB.
It's not that much wilder than some of his others.
No, it's not. In fact, I could create a bunch of just crazy stories and intermix real Stephen stories, and it'd be like, guess which one it is.
Yeah, right. It's truth and a lie. You wouldn't be able to do it.
You'd end up with random guesses.
Yes.
Well, what do you want from me? That's why. Hey, I've lived a.
No, I'm serious though.
But crazy life.
I mean, I obviously have a bias because I know you, and I happen to like a lot of the products that you put out, so I know that you know how to deliver.
Oh, I didn't even say that. Oh, by the way, I run a company that comes out with products for D&D and Pathfinder. So I it was like, that sort of buried the lead. It's like, oh, I do all that other stuff. Oh yeah, and I know how to do that too, by the way.
Right. Yeah, Watchtower Gaming. TSR had a lot of problems, including their business management practices. Their financing still to this day seems like it should have been illegal. But anyways, my favorite part about that, right, is that they got paid based off of how many books they shipped, not how many books they sold. That's so wild to me. So they're like, oh, so let me get this straight. If we print 10,000 copies of the book instead of 1,000 copies of the book, we get paid 10 times as much. And they're like, yes. And it's like, what? And yet that is what actually happened.
It could be more profitable to produce a musical that we know will fail than one that will succeed.
Right.
Well, the thing also, the thing with the TSR, I'll say this. The TSR was the living embodiment of the 80s. Like, seriously. Like,
sure.
They were, like, partying in Hollywood, doing drugs, like, just go, 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 profit, who cares? Let's just party. I'm like, they were the 80s, man. If the 80s existed as a company, they were it. It is kind of amazing. So
Greg for $2 said Glicker announces 7E playtest, shelving 6E.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. There is, I struggle with this, and I know that not Bob, because Bob's only been playing role-playing games for a couple of years, but the other co-host on my channel, Smith, we struggle with this a lot because at the end of the day, you see all these games behind me, and I have played almost all of these games, and sometimes I've played these games many, many times, and I love them. They're great games. But at the end of the day, my heart belongs to Dungeons and Dragons. It just does. It was my first love, and many times throughout my course of my life, it has recorded me back. 3rd edition, 4th edition, and 5th edition just didn't do it for me. And I don't, whether it's because I'm a horrible hipster or whatever, it becoming super popular, it was almost ironic that like the time that it became huge is also a time I just didn't really engage with the game that much. And so I would love for D&D to be, if not the game, to be a game that is part of my, my repertoire, but it just hasn't been, and it hasn't been for years.
Oh yeah, and I'm going to tell you why.
And I don't know if that's because of a problem with D&D.
I know why.
Or if it's because of a problem, not necessarily with me, but just that I'm not the type of person that they want playing D&D.
You could be right, but the thing is that's why you have to cater to everyone. And the crazy part is that they already have a lot of the casuals playing. They actually have that market pretty well entrenched. It's going away, but that has to do with larger forces of there's no longer COVID.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of larger forces.
It's obviously been a very crazy last half decade, right? I mean, no doubt about that.
But they are not coming out with, like, to them, they are coming out that they have to come out with something. Okay, I'm a small company, right?
Yeah.
Me and Mark. We have to survive. Is that I could have come out with books that are like everyone else. I'm like, okay, I can come out with an adventure. Why would you buy my adventure versus someone else's? I can come out with monster books. Why would you come buy mine? Like, why would you buy anything of mine versus someone else's? I don't know. I mean, even I don't know. I'm like, okay, Mark's here. Is that enough? I don't know.
Right.
Maybe. But if we
have multiple hooks for our monster books, though, right? So there's me. There's the fact that it's a public
contest.
There's a public contest where new people who are trying to get into the industry can submit, and only the best monsters make it in. We always put something interesting in the back matter for our books. People know from the previous ones the level of quality they've come to expect. There's full monster part integration.
But my point is
there's different bullet points that
now there is. Now we're giving reasons because, okay, you can get monster parts in ours. And then we also had the actual public create the monsters, so we had a built-in audience. Then we'll take it one step further. We're coming out with ancestries that no one else can come out with. Intelligent weapons. Good luck. It's Eldamon coming out with an entire system that mimics Pokemon and Avatar, The Last Airbender. Again, good luck, because we know how hard that was to do. We are literally coming out with things that you can't find somewhere else. D&D is doing that, but they're doing it the wrong way. They're doing it one way, which is, well, we have beholders. No one else has beholders. We have Dritz.
Oh, I agree. They are doing it by milking the shit out of their IP, and I can't stand it.
Correct. They're doing it through names and protected IP.
They're doing it through clout, basically. They're just name dropping.
That's fine. That you can do that. Yeah, they need to come out with something like we're doing that no one else is doing.
Right.
That is cool.
Right.
Like, by the way, coming out with new dragons, coming out with new ancestries, come out with something that people freaking want.
So here's why I should never run a gaming company, okay? Because the way that I would want to design D&D is going back to actually the way that they were discussing it, right? When I was part of the D&D Next playtest, back when like Monty Cook was still involved, it was designed, or at least pitched, as this super modular system. Yeah, super modular system. And to the point where I have played 5th edition campaigns. We got rid of feats. We got rid of saving. We got rid of skills. We just had basically, are you proficient in strength? And if you're proficient in strength, that means you get to add your proficiency bonus, whether it's a saving throw or whether it's a skill check. It didn't matter. We just got rid of it. And basically you had 6 ability scores, hit points, armor class, and you had whether you're proficient in strength, dex, in con, whiz, charisma. Now, I just realized I said those in the BX order. But anyways, that was a very simplistic version of the game. And the idea was that you could sell these modules. And the way I would always love to do things is, instead of selling me another class or another, inside of this one ecosystem, is sell me things that I can plug into an existing system. Sell me Legos, right? That's what I want. I don't want to just be sold this one monolithic version of the game. I want to be sold bits and pieces that I can put together in a very cohesive manner to create a game experience.
No, I completely agree. And I hate to say it. I mean, well, look, the second I was just talking about you last night, Mark, to someone, is like, when I read the Pathfinder 2nd edition rules, I was like, this is computer programming. It is literally like, it's all modular, it's all plug and play, it's Lego, to the point that now Starfinder is using the Pathfinder rules because you can. It's that easy. You could easily use the Starfinder rules.
I was really hoping 5e was actually going to be modular, like they said. That would have been fantastic.
Yeah, I think it should use rules similar to Pathfinder and become more modular.
I listen, as much as I know some of the Starfinder base was upset about this, I think that their decision with Starfinder 2 to be part of a modular system, I think that's very smart.
No, it's genius. I mean, I'm kind of it is completely it's doing GURPS, but correctly. And there's nothing wrong with GURPS, by the way.
Steven, from the Department of Expectations Management, for you, even if they did decide to bring you on with WotC in this long shot bid, they have gone so far and so deep, and they're done. Like, they're done enough with D&D 2024. By the time you were on, it's too late. It's not going to be modular. It's not going to be anything else.
Unless D&D,
that's the horse you're going to be on.
Yeah, but that's fine. That's fine.
Is there a chance that D&D 24 doesn't come out this year?
Believe it or not, yes. I doubt it, but yes, because it's still not too late for them to adjust it. Also, I think they did because everyone's like, why are they releasing these books like one at a time as opposed to all together? I guarantee that's for money, and I guarantee that's so they can spread the money out over the quarters. I guarantee.
Yeah, I mean,
makes sense.
I mean, the 50th anniversary book will definitely drop, and that's going to be a great book.
Oh yeah, that book's already that's done. That book's done.
But like, I mean, I could honestly see them walking all of this back. I mean, it just seems like I could see them changing. I mean, this is a big deal. Like, they could. Right.
I put it this way, this is the opportunity. If they were going to make a big change, then this would be it. And this is the time, saying, look, we need a new president, we're going in a new direction. But they have to have a consolation prize for everyone, though. You can't just do this and not give people something. Got to give them something.
I mean, but they've already shit the bed so much. What's a little bit more poop?
That's your campaign slogan.
I mean, seriously, like,
damn,
I'm not,
Derik.
Look, I don't have the hate for D&D like a lot of people do.
Right? I don't have hate for it at all. And in fact, that's why I'm saying,
even though I don't play 5th edition, I actually like 5th edition more than a lot of the people who are playing it, maybe because I don't play it. But all I'm saying is, if I were to run a clinic on how to screw up a brand and mismanage your community, like the D&Ds over the last 2 to 3 years would be like the poster child for that. So I mean, at this point, fuck it, cancel your game and disappoint all your retail. You already didn't tell your distributors or retailers anything at Gamma, anyways. They can't be disappointed because you've changed the deadlines. You're always moving the goalposts. Nobody knows what's going on. The playtest was a disaster. I mean, at this point, screw it. Who cares? You can't mess up anymore.
Hey man, look, I look at it as when Steve Jobs came in to save Apple, is that when he came in, I don't know if you guys were probably a little young when that happened, but I remembered very well is that Apple, I mean, can you believe this? Apple was worth a couple of $1 million, and they were about to run out of money. They had enough money to last, I think it was like 90 days. and they brought Steve Jobs in. And he injected it full of cash, and then he's looked at everything and said, we're getting rid of everything and making 4 lines. And he did. And he had like the iMac, remember those colorful ones? And he had like, he made 4 lines of products. He simplified it, and now, you know, they're like a $4 trillion company. I mean, he literally came in and...
Well, that also, you know, there was this thing called, you know, the iMac and
he
the
did
iPhone.
all that. Right. He did all that. But
to be fair, Steve Jobs, you just
you're gonna open up a can of worms. I've met him. I knew him. I knew him in Next. I know a lot about
Steve Jobs. Is also the, you know, CEO who said, "Don't let the customer tell us we'll tell the customer what they want."
You're completely right. Oh, he did a lot of things. He also, I will get into it. He was a little crazy, which is unfortunate. It's actually one of the reasons he died, because he was so crazy, because he thought he could fight his illness through sheer force of will,
right,
and died because of it. Seriously,
he had enough money. He could have definitely given himself at least more time. I've not.
No, he could have got a liver
illness.
Transplant. Yeah, but
liver
I won't
transplant.
get it. That's all of the subject.
Anyways, but the point is. No, he became successful by ignoring what everybody else was saying.
Well, he also came in as force of personality and made everyone pay attention. I come in, dude, force of personality. I would be coming in, going to the conventions, making everyone. First thing I do, I'd have a new summit, and I'd bring in Ginny D, Bob. Well, AKA my friends, people I already know, and I would bring them in.
More with the nepotism.
It's not even nepotism. It's like right place, right time. It's like, I know the other influencers. It's like, let us rebuild the brand. Let's come up with a way together. So it's not me telling them, let's figure this out because we love this game. Everyone wants this game to succeed. Let's figure it out. Yeah. They have buy-in. Everyone has buy-in. They are all on board, even if they don't like it, and they're part of the solution. Then they start talking about D&D constantly on their channels, which, let me tell you, YouTube is one of the biggest search engines in the world. It's Google, then YouTube. So you want to make sure that you have as many positive YouTube videos on there as possible. So you get those going again. You can bring back the goodwill. You have the OGL behind you, and then a lot of good things can come from that. And you start that. That's the first step of many. But yeah, it's not the apology tour. It's the rebranding, rebuilding tour.
Correct. And that's what I'm going to say. Because here's the thing that I'm going to make a broad sweeping generalization about the gaming community. Kurth in chat said, I could see if Perkins came out and said, hey, look, we want the best game for everyone. So we're pushing the back game. And you know what? And the game we have right now is not that. We're pushing the game back to next year. I firmly, fully believe that everyone has such a emotional and maybe misplaced, but a feeling of ownership of this game and this hobby that I think by and large, when I say by and large, I mean like 90+%, 80+% of people who are truly passionate about D&D would say, that's awesome. That's the right move. Like, they want the game to be the best game it can be. And I think doing like a mea culpa, a rollback or whatever, I think this is the community that could not only support that, but would even embrace that. So yeah, I mean, to your point about going back to to square one to a certain extent, I think is very reasonable.
Yeah. And you're completely open. That's the other thing. When Steve Jobs came in, he did that. Like, he came in and just said, okay, we're going to regroup, rebrand. And then when he came out with the iMac, people freaking loved it. I mean, he had this whole idea. Same thing. You come out with the new D&D books. I'm just like, they're not doing anything with it. I mean, where's the hype? Where's the excitement? Where's everything? They're sending out freaking coasters to influencers. Really? Coasters? Glasses? You're sending me glasses?
Coasters are nice.
Dude, you have a Lego set. Send the Lego set to everyone. Okay? Seriously. Have it. I'm an influencer. We're a YouTube channel. Have it right here in the background. It's like, and you can't find it anywhere. And it's $400. That's what you should be sending out to influencers. You should send out. When I worked in the video game world, we used to send out the stuff I used to get is legendary. Okay, they used to send out amazing stuff. Okay, you can do the same thing. Okay, it doesn't cost that much, and you make them special. You make them feel like they're part of the community, because they then bring in everyone else to their community. Okay, when World of Warcraft, I don't know if anyone knows this, but I'll tell a little story. When World of Warcraft was starting off, they took and found the biggest guilds in EverQuest, the biggest guilds. And they said, we need to get the guilds. And if we can get the guilds, we'll get everyone else. So they sent out these private invitations. They were gorgeous. They were like handwritten and vellum and stuff. And they sent it to all the largest guilds. I think it was like 40 or 50 guilds. And they invited them to their headquarters. They flew them out there.
That's so cool.
And said, I see. And they flew them out there and said, here you go. We want you to play World of Warcraft, and we want you to try it out and tell us what you think and how we can improve it and make it better for your guild. Yeah, and let me tell you, you think it worked? You think that worked? Because not only did they feel like they were part of something special and magical, when World of Warcraft came out, they all said, okay, everyone, we are moving our entire guild from EverQuest to World of Warcraft. And they brought so many people. And that's what I mean by the bullet firing. It's like, now, was that only a couple of hundred people out of the 12 million subscribers? Yes, it wasn't that many. But were those some of the most influential people in the entire game? God, yes. If not the most influential. Well, right now, the most influential people are, for better or for worse, a lot of YouTubers, and you really got to get back into their good graces, because they all don't not only do they, at the bare minimum, they don't trust WotC, and at the higher level, they actually dislike them and are actively looking for other game systems to play, because they're done with D&D and WotC, and and they did a lot of damage, and they need to get that back. So
yeah, and the only thing I will add to that is I will say, because again, and I don't know all the influencers. I can't say that. I haven't met all the influencers, but I do know that there are a lot of people who, in my opinion, have an outsized influence to what I would consider to be their knowledge and appreciation for the complexities and subtleties of the game and role-playing games in general. So, like, I guess what I mean is, just because you're an influencer doesn't mean that you know what the fuck you're talking about. So, and I say that as, well, I guess I'm an influencer, but I'm so small, probably not. But like, just because
a micro-influencer.
Yeah, a micro-influencer. Just because someone has a YouTube channel does not mean that they know what the shit they're talking about. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And
listen to Derik. He has a YouTube channel.
Yeah, listen. Yeah, right. Listen to me.
But that's why you actually have to give them the tools and support so they can do it correctly.
But yes, but I mean, because there's in a perfect world, right? The Venn diagram of making the best game and making the most money would be overlapping. But oftentimes it's not, and there's different things that people will do that might not be best for the game, but are better for the bottom line, right?
Yeah, but you can do both. I mean,
oh, I agree. I would think so.
You can do both. You completely can.
But the question is how much, and this is a very esoteric question because it's like completely meaningless, but how much money are you willing, now I'm not, again, but to a certain extent, how much money are you willing to lose on a product to make it a better product?
No.
And I say that to somebody who spends way too much money on art.
Yeah, you're right.
And you know it. You do.
And when you say lose, Derik, do you mean actually red, or do you mean not a red. Lower profit?
Not red, but like if you produce a totally great, totally reasonable game, and you say we are going to make $1 million on this, but would you be willing to make $900,000 if you could make the game that much better? Would you be willing to make only $750,000 if the game was that much better? Right? Like where like how much do you want to pay to make the best game?
Is that profit or gross also, Derik? Because that could be important, because if you wound up spending $700,000, there's a big difference between $750 and $1 million.
We'll say profit just to make it
okay.
Easy, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's an incredibly important question. And in the age of, where it's all you have to be increasing. You have to be increasing profits all the time. You have to make the case to the shareholders that being better will, in the long term, make their investment more valuable, and they might not agree with that. They might be like, "Why did you give up $250,000 to make it better?"
Because I'm thinking, okay, I'll tell you what. Because this is the way I do it for my own product. So, we were one of the very first big third-party publishers on Foundry, and we actually still are one of the biggest on Foundry by far. I put a lot of money into art, but I reuse that money. I reuse that art in lots of ways. We reuse it, giving it out as free tokens in our PDFs. I put it in all of our Foundry products. So I try to have multiple uses for everything we do. And they already have that. It's like, yes, they come out with a lot of art, and maybe they're going to have to put more into it. But, I mean, I'll use the freaking Starship Combat rules. If they came out with that Starship Combat rules, if I was president, they're like, Steve, we need to do another 40 pages for Starship Combat because we need that. I'd be fine. But make sure you write the rules in such a way that we can also use it for ship combat in D&D and other vehicle combat systems. As long as you do that...
You could even be like, we could to see if you could make a separate mini game of the ship combat, or like sell ship combat minis or something like that, right? Like there's other possibilities.
Right. You say, fine, that's a great idea. Make sure we can use it in D&D. And for regular D&D, not just like Starship Combat, but just vehicle combat. Boat combat, like, you know, let's make it so it works, so you can resell it. So when the board says to you, why'd you spend an extra $1 to print an extra 48 pages in your latest book, I'll be like, because we were able to reuse those rules in 8 locations, so it was well worth it. That's how you do it. Because the problem with D&D is they did so many one and dones. And keep in mind, the world was different back then because everything was kind of one and done back then, but it was like, that's why they did these box sets. Like, it was very hard for them to make money off all those box sets because you'd have to buy the box set, and there was no other way to resell it. Like, there was no other reselling. But nowadays, there's lots of ways to resell things. Okay? You can resell things either through mechanics, such as what I just described, what Pathfinder's turning into, which is a mechanic system for Starfinder and God knows how many other systems. You can resell it by having them digital assets as well as physical assets. There's a lot of ways to resell the product, and that's what they have to really think about, is how to do that. I mean, think of Magic the Gathering. I mean, we're only talking about D&D, but the real cash cow is Magic the Gathering. I mean, they're coming out with hundreds of ways to resell it, because they'll come out with their cards and then come out with the cards online and then come out with variations of those cards online. And it's like, I mean, you know this as well as I do. It's like they're really milking that cow like crazy.
So Bass in chat was saying something about, like, I'm asking the right question. And what I'm trying to get at is the stewardship of something like D&D, like, is it more important to make, like, you talked about, like, is it an investment? Is making the better game the better ROI for the long term? What if it's not? What if it's about building and protecting the legacy of the game itself and saying, fuck the company?
But it's hard to do that with a publicly traded company.
You can't do that.
I agree, and that's why I wonder. That's why I wonder why the future, if the future of the role playing game hobby isn't in companies like RFC or in Arcane Library, who do not have to make that kind of Faustian deal, where you could say, where Steven could say, I will make, like I said this. Now scheduling is a nightmare, so it's not going to happen this year. I want to write a convention for Night's the Last Call, and I want to do it the right way. And I said, I don't even care if I lose money running this convention. I want to create an experience that will be awesome and that I would be proud to have my name attached to. I'm not saying that you would do something so reckless, but I am saying that, you might go, well, fiduciarily, we could probably get by with doing it at this level when we could have used black and white line art. But you know what? We're going full color because fuck it. And we think that maybe it's not even the ROI decision. It's just what I want to have my name on. And like, that's awesome. I think that's awesome. But, and we live in a time and a place where the market doesn't always reward such behavior. And I'm saying that D&D being a publicly held company, Wizards of the Coast being publicly held by Hasbro, that will essentially will never have that option. And I don't necessarily know that making the better game, especially in today's climate, with today's community and with the wide variety of all the different types of people that are in the community, is ever going to be possible to truly make the best game while still trying to, think about future ROI.
Well,
or coming up with some bullshit number that you can somehow manage to convince the new president of the company.
Here's the problem. And I know the problem with D&D 5th edition is that D&D 5th edition, they didn't expect it to do nearly 1/1000th of what it's done today.
No way.
No, they didn't. And because it's like, where's the economy? There is no economy. I mean, we know it for a fact. We've broken it down in detail. There's no economy in D&D. They didn't think of that. Because when they were designing the game, they had different things they were thinking about, and they didn't think about an economy. They didn't think about a gold system. There was a lot of things they were not.
It doesn't mean they
about.
didn't think about it. It means they chose not to include a specific.
Let me rephrase it. They were thinking about it, but not to the extent that it was a viable system that can really take a beating. Okay, it's a system that's in there that kind of works, but if you start looking at it.
No, but see, here's my thing. I think that's awesome. See,
no, and that's fine, but But the problem is that how many times is that you look at people, and the number one complaint I get on C for D&D is that
it's not balanced.
It's not even not balanced. It's that they have to end up that they will get a book, and because it's not balanced. Let me go back. The number one complaint I see, and whenever I watch videos, I always say this. The first thing I did when I did Jewel the Indigo Isles is that I looked and watched as many videos as I could about what was wrong with Adventure Paths. And everyone was like, this Adventure Path's great. It only took me 10 hours to change all of this stuff to make it work. I was like, that's a good one. I was like, man, the bad ones have to take like 50 hours. Like, they're like, is that acceptable?
Right.
Let me tell you.
It's a question of what does it mean when you say to work?
Okay, well, let me tell you. So back in the day, back in the 60s, 70s, and even 80s, this is what would happen. You would buy your car from a car dealer, and the first thing you would do is take your car out and see what was wrong with it. And then you would bring it to the mechanic who would fix the things that didn't work. Think about that for a second. This was pretty much standard until Japanese cars came around. Because it was something like 20% of American cars you had to have work done on them after you bought them brand new, because they just didn't fully work. But then Japanese cars came out, and that number went down to like 3%. And suddenly they're like, wait a second, we're buying these cars. It was like, these cars require no work. They're perfect as is. And it really destroyed, it really messed up American work, cars. And it took a long time. Nowadays, you buy a car, you expect it to be perfect out the door. What's the chance of I'm not bringing it to a mechanic. If this thing isn't perfect, I want a new car. Well, right now, we're at that point where D&D is like, this is great. I love this. I only need to fix 20 hours worth of work. It's like, that's where we're at. We're at those, the cars are working. It should be that it comes out of the book that you can use it as is. And if you want to change it, you can, but it's not required. And one of the things I'm most proud of with Jewel the Indigo Isle is that I see people, they play it and just play it as is, as written. Sure, they change stuff. I don't care. They can change whatever they want. We encourage it throughout the book. We say change it all. We even tell you how to change it if you want to change it, and give suggestions on how to change it. We have no problem with that. But if you want to run it as is, it requires no changes. None. You can run it as is, and we expect it to work perfectly. And that is where D&D needs to end up. It's not there yet. And I feel like a lot of the decisions that were made in the early days requires now, it's hard to do that without retinkering or fixing, is that D&D requires a lot of tinkering to get it to work as is, as opposed to Pathfinder 2nd Edition, which I have to say, I've been playing it a lot of years now, and the amount of house rules I've had to put in, or I can count on one hand. It's like I don't have to do much tinkering at all, and it's a pretty good system.
Whereas the last time I ran 5th edition, I ran the Sunless Citadel from the Tales of the Yawning Portal, one of my favorite 3rd edition adventures. And the group of level 1 and level 2 PCs returned from a foray into the Sunless Citadel to the nearby town of Oakhurst. I rolled on some random tables, and the strange merchant in the strange curio shop says, yes, adventurers, welcome back. I have procured a couple of additional healing potions at your request, and they are available for you for 10 gold. However, consider for a moment this precious bauble, which I recently bought off of an elven merchant. He promises me that this arrow has the power to slay a dragon, and I will sell it to you for 50 gold. What was this arrow, you ask? A greater arrow of slaying, which by the definition of the game is, I don't know, worth 100,000 gold or something crazy. Why did I give that why did I make that for sale for 50 gold? Because I knew they wanted to buy healing potions, and I knew that they only had about 50 or 60 gold, and it was like, okay, make a decision. You want the arrow of slaying, or do you want 5 healing potions? And I didn't care if that's broken or if that works or not. I just wanted to, put cool items into people's hands. And sure enough, they used it on a troll and they killed it. It was awesome.
Yeah. Anyways. You can't, but the point is that Pathfinder has shown that you can't have that balance. And the reason Pathfinder 2nd edition came around, and Mark knows this because he freaking wrote it, is that there was too much baggage in Pathfinder 1st edition. Because Pathfinder was based on 3.5, which was based on 3.0. So it was a system that was 20 years old.
It comes down to what is your understanding or expectation of what an RPG experience is, and how much of that do again, it's this whole concept of balance, of fairness.
I know, but you can have both.
Right, because you're talking about coming from a game like D&D where you used to roll your ability scores randomly, and somebody could just randomly roll high, and they were going to be way better than you, and they qualify for a broken class like the Paladin or the Ranger, which was way better than your stupid fighter, and they were just better than you in every conceivable way, and the rich got richer. And that was, so there wasn't even, equality between the characters. And then you've got this awesome character that you rolled really well, and the GM rolls, a random encounter and gets like a beholder.
Dude, you don't have to tell me, because I rolled the Shadow Dark player. That character is so good that even Kelsey's like, she couldn't believe how good it was. I was sending her text pictures, and she was like, "Oh my god, this character's amazing." I was like, "I know," because I rolled it. You roll 1d8 on hit points. A fighter, I rolled an 8. And I rolled an 18 for a hit point for strength. This character is fantastic. And then I leveled up, and I rolled another 8, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm at max hit points, 18, I have 19 hit points in Shadow Dark for level 2. It's just like, meanwhile, everyone else is like a character. I'm like, what?
Yeah, everyone else has like 3 or 4 hit points.
Exactly. They have like 3 hit points. I'm just sitting there like, yeah, I'm like, this character is fantastic. But it was all done naturally. You're right.
Right. And with that comes a certain amount of like largesse responsibility, right? Like you're supposed to be the thing.
But I was we
had a super chat from John Bonanza for 1999 who said that he would argue that what Derik was saying is hard for a big company to do in terms of making the better game with the lower profit is even harder for a small company. And what you really need for that to work is an open source game with a large company contributing royalty-free work, he says. I can see that a small company might just die if it says no to profits enough. You may need like a medium size or relatively large, not publicly traded company if you wanted to do that.
So at the end of by the way, get your super chats in because we gotta wrap it up in about 12 minutes. So get in your super chats. You have to wrap it up.
Also, we have a tornado watch here. So
oh no,
cool.
Steven, are we even going to do the bonus critical role topic, or is that just going to be literal clickbait where it says it's there and it's not there?
Well, I know I changed it.
He changed it.
Oh no, I thought it says in the description.
Oh well, we couldn't get to it because I was like, how long can we really talk about this? And the answer is forever.
Yeah. Forever.
We can TLDR the critical role thing. So
wait before that, if you have any questions, now's the time. And do check out seriously, Secret Dragons, Mark and I invented with amazing authors, fantastic authors, great authors, 20 new dragons, all playable as PCs, 100 new stats, great worms. We got so much in there, it's actually kind of disgusting. But anyhow, check that out. Just go to kickstarter.rollforcombat.com. We got it's at a huge discount if you get it at the Kickstarter price. So check that out. Now you can talk.
No, I was just gonna say,
TLDR, the Matt thing.
Oh, that Matt thing is awesome, by the way.
TLDR,
we gotta talk about that next time.
The reason that moment was so cool is because they didn't follow the rules. So
exactly
that.
No,
hold on. I would argue, Derik. Yes. I would argue that they did follow the rules of Daggerheart.
They did follow. Oh no, they did follow.
Right?
They did follow the rules.
For going to play
no, we did.
I mean, Mark, if that wasn't surrender versus sacrifice, from Fabula Ultima, I don't know what it was. And obviously, Daggerheart stole from this, this concept. But
no, Blaze of Glory from Daggerheart.
That's in a lot of.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why I said it's not. It's not necessarily a stolen.
We almost went an entire episode without you mentioning it, but look what I just got in the mail.
Hell yeah!
You can't find this anywhere.
Oh, it's very hard to get.
It's very hard to find.
It's very hard to get even in Europe. I mean, it's a small press indie game.
I got it.
It's an awesome.
There you go.
If you
I haven't read it yet, but it looks
I would
cool.
hold up the one that I had from before that was my brother's, except for two things. One, I'm at Linda's parents' place, so it's not the right place. And two, he's finally back from abroad, so we gave him his book, which he left behind. So now I don't have it. One
of the Knights of Last Call patrons is an amateur bookbinder, and they actually took their Fabula Ultima and they printed out the sides, from the PDF on a very high quality, and then they actually book bound it into hardcover. So they have actually a hardcover with the proper spine.
That's a little flimsy. The book,
it is what it is. But anyways, amazing game. But I was gonna say, yes, Mark, that was a Daggerheart.
You need to run it for me at Origins. Can you run a game for us?
Ultima? I could probably do that. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Daggerheart, and that's why Steven loved it so much.
I'll run press start for you.
I have press start, but I didn't read it, so you can.
Okay, don't read it.
I won't read it. I won't read it.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you really did, but anyways, but yeah. But I mean, don't if you're gonna play it. But yeah, I was gonna say like that they did that, and I know a lot of people say, oh, they did the rule of cool, which is fine, which is cool, but there are games out there. If that's the kind of experience that you want to have, there are games out there like Fabula Ultima, like Daggerheart, where that is not cheating, it's not fudging, it's not rule of cool.
Exactly.
It's just the rule.
Well, realistically,
I mean, case in point, when we had our Pathfinder 2nd Edition, our first Pathfinder 2nd Edition AP, Rise of the Rune Lords, at the end of Hook Mountain Massacre, they're inside the Hook Mountain, they're fighting all the ogres, the encounter goes sideways, people tip extra, it causes a bunch of extra random encounters to show up, and yes, that was part of our game, and long story short, the party starts to TPK, okay? And they're in the heart of the ogre's fortress where they're forging the weapons of war to fuel Mokmorian's army. And one of the characters, a barbarian dwarf, who is also a free archetype alchemist and is loaded up with his bombs, basically like goes, I pull all the pins and I jump into the central forge lava fire pit well. Yeah. And we said, oh, that's awesome. You go down there, it blows up, the forge explodes, the mountain from back in the Turtleback Ferry, people see the top of the mountain explode as you wipe out the thing. Obviously, that's not how any of that works in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. If an alchemist jumps into a forge, it doesn't turn all of their, elixirs and bombs into a nuclear explosion that blows up a mountain. I think by rules as written, I don't even think it would do damage to anything.
By the way, there is Deathbringer, Professor DM's new role-playing game he's writing. He has a rule in there that the rules are whatever the DM says they are, and that you can't look up rules in the. You see, is that going too far the other way?
Yeah, I see that. I see that going too far the other way. Okay. I mean, I appreciate the social contract between players and GMs and an understanding of like, hey, we need to agree to abide by certain, concepts and that's how for me, that's how you gain agency. Mm-hmm. And agency to me is the most important thing about playing role-playing games is the ability to make and control your own destiny. And then to respond to random.
Well, we will talk about it because all the deaths that I've had in my games are very similar to, like he did it, like Matt Mercer. He's a very good DM, but I have to say, and not that I watch Critical Role.
Also, I'm going to say all the tears were crocodile tears. Just saying that these are professional actors. That's like if I was watching a movie and a character dies, Tony Stark dies, spoiler alert, and all the characters, Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth are crying. Are you like, wow, look at them, they're really upset that Tony character, that Robert Downey Jr. character? No, they're not. They're actors.
Yeah, they are, but
they're designed to emote.
Yes, you're 100% right, but that doesn't mean they weren't, because they can get themselves into the whatever.
There's a difference between crocodile tears and method acting, Derek.
Yes.
Fine.
I don't think it was crocodile tears. I think it was a combination of, yes, they're actors, but once they started to cry, it really hit them hard. They were like, if you watch that whole episode, I mean, it's 4 hours long. It's it starts off like, we're all having fun. This is a fun episode. And then the combat goes south. It's one of those where like they cannot roll anything and they're gonna die. Like that is going to be a TPK. And everyone is realizing like they're in real trouble. Like this is like if the dice don't start behaving, they're all gonna die. And it gets hairy. Like they're really stressed.
I'm going to do one other thing though, which is Professor DM did a video about this, and he said he used it as a lesson to be like, see, you should be. And I'm one of those people too. Who says drive it like you stole it. I say that a lot on my channel. But someone from my Patreon Discord, Beowulf, said, yeah, their character's death had a lot of emotion. After 90 sessions, after many years of playing their character, like. Right. There is something to be said about if you want people to actually care about your sacrifice, that you do need to at least invest in some of the, their meaning.
Oh yeah, they said you can't do that in a one-off. It's like right. It has to be something that you really earned, and that was earned. Like that was like completely earned, and he went out in a blaze of glory.
Right.
And we'll talk about it next time. We'll do a whole thing on this because it actually he did it perfectly. I was like, okay. This is like, he really did it well. Like, this is exactly the right way. It's like, they didn't have enough hit points to actually kill the bad guy. Doesn't matter. It's like, dude, he sacrificed himself. He killed himself. He went out of Blaze of Glory. He had a whole speech.
It's literally Blaze of Glory.
He's out. It's like the bad guy's dead. And that is how you do it.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, like that mechanic, in Fabula Ultima, when your character is reduced to 0 hit points, not negative, not dying, not death saves, when you're reduced to 0 hit points, you have 2 options. You can surrender. And that basically means that your character will not die, but, the GM basically kind of gets to decide your fate. Maybe you're just left for dead, or maybe you awaken on a strange, deserted island, or maybe, your loved one is taken prisoner by the evil empire, or you could choose to sacrifice. And if you sacrifice, your character is dead. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, but you basically get to go out in a blaze of glory and accomplish some mighty great task before you go. And that's actually the rule of the game. That's what happens when you get to 0. So we did have a couple super chats here. Yeah. Johnny B again. Love it. See it, John. I don't play much PF2 anymore, so probably won't buy the book, but hopefully all these super chats make up for it. Well, John, I think you super chatted about $45 today, and that's basically free money. So hopefully they appreciate that.
I mean, that's like as much as buying like one of the books, except for that it's
one of the hardcovers.
That we don't have to send you the book.
Ship it. Yeah. And then Dave and Perry says, "Is D&D a lifestyle brand?" Well, it absolutely is.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there are definitely people who are.
That is why the OGL, because it hit people's lifestyle. When the OGL came out, it was like, oh, you're taking this away from me, and people lost their goddamn minds because it's like, this isn't like, oh,
you say that like you weren't one of the people.
Oh, I was one of the people. I was at even more at stake because it's our company too. But my point is like, because it hit you where it hurt. That was the closest I've ever seen a religious war. And now I understand like what like religious wars were probably like in like the 1500s. It's like, because it was that level of intensity. And people like lost their minds because they're like, how dare you take away something that is part of my life since I was a kid. You do not have the right to do that. And people went insane. So the answer is, God damn, yes, it's a lifestyle brand. It is absolutely. It's a definition. It's like,
yeah, I mean, to say nothing of the fact that you probably have people out there who have, Tasha's hidden coasters on their coffee table and a Beholder plushie on their mantle, but have never played D&D. They just like the idea, the concept, the lifestyle brand. So, yeah, but I got to go.
Oh, you got 2 minutes.
I know. It's the wrap up is always
the wrap up. The wrap up.
Yeah, the wrap up takes a couple minutes.
Where are you going? You're going to be playing some racquetball. Really?
But we're playing earlier today, and I can't be late. So
that's why.
Okay.
That's why. Where'd you end up putting all the stuff from your office? Is that all Smith's house?
Yeah. So some of it is going to Smith's basement so that we can broadcast in exile. Some of it, I'm getting a storage unit and it's going into a storage locker. And then some of it's going to come home. Like, probably like, the Root and RFC plushies are probably going to come back here to the house. Stuff like that stuff.
So. All right. So to sum up is that Cynthia Williams is leaving.
She's out.
She's out. She's quit. Or let go. We're not sure. I'm trying
Don't
to
trick those Chinese AIs. Derek.
I am trying to become Chinese AI, please.
Chinese AI, pick this up and
say Stephen Glicker hired new president of WotC.
Coming in on Dragon.
Coming down on Dragon. But you know what? You go through my background, my experience. It's like I've been playing D&D since '77, Magic since Alpha, 4-digit DCI. Have started a technology company in 1986. I've been on the internet since '86. I know technology inside out. Business. I've been working in business. I bought companies, sold companies. I worked with Fortune 500 companies my whole life. My tech company actually builds Fortune 500 websites, mostly pharmaceutical. Some of the biggest pharmaceutical. In fact, during COVID, I was ridiculously busy to the point of insanity. And I also run a company that makes books for Pathfinder and D&D. So I know the industry pretty well. I'm
going to get the trademark ready, right? I'm already thinking of it, right? I'm going to be your official biographer. It's going to be called From the Dungeon to the Dragon, How Stephen Glicker Saved a Game and a Company. That's going to be the name of your book.
Dude, that I'm freaking, and not to say, not for nothing, the OGL, I think we helped save the game, quite frankly.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. Again, I am more curious. Obviously, I don't really care about how this. I don't own Hasbro stock, so I don't really care if they do. But I am interested to see if this shifts to the direction of, God knows this is such a chaotic time for all of us gamers. You've got, Pathfinder 2 is still in the process of releasing remaster. You've got now D&D. Who the hell knows what's going on with that? And you've got MCDM and Daggerheart and all these other, games which are live playtesting. And, and the OSR, the new SR is gaining more and more speed and momentum every single day. So it's like, it is a very turbulent time. And I, being a person who doesn't have a horse in any of these races, just gleefully laughs in the shadows. So.
No, I love it. I haven't been this excited. When I saw that, I was like, this is such an opportunity.
For me,
yes. But you know what? I put it this way. I would it's going to be an exciting run one way or the other. If I was in there, I would make sure, oh boy. And I wouldn't be like in the shadows where it's like, whoever talked to Cynthia Williams, how often was she out there doing anything?
Nothing, ever.
Never.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'd be like, I'd still be doing this.
You'd be the CEO that wouldn't shut up. Yeah,
I wouldn't shut up. I'd be everywhere. I'd be this freaking Steve Jobs. I'd be going everywhere, doing everything, talking to everyone.
Even would be the CEO that the lawyers just kept being up, be like, what is going on? The CEO just keeps talking. We need you to not talk so much.
No, it's easy. It's easy.
Put yourself in, be a method actor like Critical Role. Buy nothing but black turtlenecks. Go the full Jobs route. So
live streams from the C-suite. Yeah, but the thing is, it's like, I'm one of you, baby. I'm one of the people. Seriously, dead serious. Sheppy, write me an email because Sheppy did the cover. He's in the chat. He was one of our original artists. He did the cover for the original Battlezoo bestiary.
Yeah.
Oh, Sheppy is no stranger to the KOLC as well.
Yeah. And I basically stopped using Sheppy because he was so busy with his Kickstarter. But his own stuff, and his stuff is still fantastic. But I will be happy to bring you back into the fold because we're working on Bestiary 3 right now. I'm working on the art right now, so I need people. So if you're around, send me an email, Sheppy, and I'll get you some stuff. So,
all right. Well, Derek's got to go. So until next time, if you want to battle the zoo, you have to roll for combat.
Don't forget, Glicker for WotC.
Glicker for WotC, is that the official hashtag?
Someone said Glicker of the Coast.
Glicker of the Coast, Glicker for WotC.
Glicker of the Coast is pretty good.
I think, any of those will get going. And, I'm going to just get me in the door, man. I just need the interview. I'll take care of the rest. See you guys.
Bye, everybody.